Roll call, Ann Eric.
Hold on, we have to pause for a second. We don't have sound.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Now I
perfect.
can, yes.
Now we can hear you. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thanks.
And we're gonna need some help with minutes, given that our secretary has left the building. Volunteer?
Who's looks up to it? I see a blank piece of paper.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I nominate.
Thank you, Ruth. You're welcome.
I can't read. my
But it
own
won't
handwriting.
be, it won't be at the warp speed that Claude was always capable of doing.
That's
He was
true.
amazing.
All right, well,
So April 11th, does anybody have any changes or? Yeah, changes, yes.
I had only one comment on paragraph 3, updates correspondence. There's a, quick typo, but this was town council, but it was specifically labor council that I think we need to know.
Okay, where is that? Oh,
Paragraph three.
yeah, third line.
Yes.
So instead of town council, it's labor council. Okay,
That was it for me.
okay. Bruce, have you got anything?
No, I just,
You? Okay,
Don't move approval?
yeah, so would somebody move approval, please?
move approval.
Second? Okay. All in favor? Great,
Aye.
all right. So
And
April 11th is adopted. And then we have April 25th, which Ruth did.
And I have some typos, but
Okay.
not changing the notion.
Okay.
Correspondence has the opportunity, that the public has an opportunity to opine instead of opportunity to opine, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I
Um,
remember that one.
So, and further down, respond to future issues.
Okay,
So as I said, nothing that
substantive.
substantive.
Okay.
Move approval?
My change was to add the fourth name. So I called it.
The what?
You were missing a name.
Where?
No, I said my change was when I called you. to add-
Oh, and there it was,
Right.
I did. Yes, you did.
Okay,
it's good.
so approval, vote, aye,
Second, second,
Bruce?
second, or approval. whatever.
Bruce approved the second. Bruce. Okay, great. So, open discussion and how we anticipate. Oh, first we go to correspondence. Yeah. All right, everybody has seen Carrie's emails about the Labor Council's redactions. And then Carrie forwarded to us the fire chief's thoughts. And thank you, Paul, for your note. Appreciate that. And I sent you this morning a copy of Claude's resignation from the task force with Terry's note as well, confirming. And then I also want to make sure you saw what went out today, which was that all the employees are getting this. No, because
Yep, it's fine.
I didn't get an email from Aaron until this morning. And then the other thing, which is for later discussion, is the draft, or just to get us started, of the summary recommendations. So is there any other correspondence that I don't know about?
Can you go over my checklist last night?
We're going to do that. That's on
Okay,
the
that's-
agenda.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
No,
I
you
don't-
were gonna do that after the last meeting. And we got that in the packet. It's in here.
No, I don't have any correspondence.
Okay. So let's see, that's Carrie's, and I think we also got something from the lawyer. talking about why it was important to redact it.
By way of hearing.
Yeah. And then I wanted to have an open conversation about how we report out. We're gonna continue to move forward on bringing everything together and trying to get it into some kind of shape for reporting out to the select board. But we're not clear as we move into the recommendations about whether we do a public hearing before or after we meet with the select board, whether the select board does the public hearing as part of a report out, or whether the personnel board does it as part of their taking over the recommendations. What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is that it's not in our hands. I think we have to take advice from the select board on what their preference is, because we are an animal of that board.
Right,
So I'm assuming that,
and I do have as a to-do, by the way, a check in with whoever is the new
the new
chair of the select board
tomorrow, yeah.
about timing and what have you.
So right now, as I understand it, the select board is basically unaware of where we are in the process, but they know that eventually we will be making a report.
Right.
The charge does not give us directions on making that report and
Right.
having a hearing. So we need, I believe, we need to refer to them to get insights. And, you know, we talked a little bit about this at our last meeting. I see it as the task force does the hearing, and with the input of what we learned from the public, we might amend our report and then give it to the board of selectmen. I'm sorry, and then give it to the select board, after which we would be dissolved. We could give our report to the select board and they say, thank you very much. And that's the end of it, no hearing. That would be unusual. But so they would probably make themselves responsible for a hearing. Or thirdly, we give it to the select board, they say, thank you very much, thanks for the great foundation, the whole deal. And they turn to the personnel board to say, would you hold the hearing? And I have strong opinions.
Can't
And
imagine.
Ann and I disagree.
Yeah. I want 2 or 3. She wants 1.
My personal opinion would be the charge came from the select board, specific things to look at here, put a report together, and if you need a hearing, hold it with the select board and us. It can't really be with the personnel board, because they're the ones that were looking at what they're doing and in accordance with the personnel bylaw. It'd be kind of a,
I think I need to be a little more clear on what our actual report is going to include before coming to an opinion on it. And I'm not trying to jumble this up,
So
but
this is good.
but my thoughts are that, for example, I think some of our recommendations and all of this work for all these months needs to be in the report.
Yep.
It's, you know, let's just take for example, if we say this checklist is a good sample.
Yeah.
Not etched in stone, not, you know, it
Right.
needs to be reworked by whomever, but my opinion should be attached to the report.
I see it as probably in a part of the appendix. We can refer to it as in part of the report and say appendix C, appendix A, for example, of the
Mhm.
checklist.
Yeah.
As we're talking about it.
I think I'd be more clear, it would be more helpful before I have an opinion I think the select board drives us, so whatever they decide
Right.
is, you know.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, we work for them.
They don't even know at this point how close we are to finish.
Well,
Do we know?
I
Do we
think,
know
I think
that-
they've known from the very beginning, we were shooting for the end of May, beginning of June.
Except that we were guided with, in preparation for 2023 town meeting.
Right,
Which
Well-
means it could run as late as December.
yeah, I was gonna say August or September.
Don't
I
worry.
Well-
I hope we're here then.
The idea of having it, trying to get it done by now is so that we've got this summer to get the personnel board, if they are responsible for the hearing, to get it out, up and done before putting together warrants for town meeting 2023.
Yeah,
So I had worked my way back, and it seemed like it was June or July, we were gonna have to get this in by, if we were gonna have all the other processes along the way incorporated.
I think that's good reasoning.
Sounds good to me. What are other people's thoughts? I mean, I have no idea how this would normally. I tried to think of it in terms of. Here comes one of Paul's dumb analogies.
We'll take it. We
Okay.
like them. They're very appropriate. I like
So
simplicity.
say it's a change to, and I was thinking about this earlier. Say this is a proposed change to a zoning bylaw.
Right.
And we're kind of Marsha Rasmussen,
Mhm.
that who does all this work and puts this all together and works and talks to people and goes downtown and, you know, all the, you know, she's the behind the scenes
Right,
hard work on
Yeah.
all these things. So if it's a change to the Thoreau Street, whatever, zoning bylaws, who holds that hearing? Is it the planning board?
Yeah.
Or is it the?
Yeah.
Because it'll be a change to the bylaws, which has to go before town meeting.
right.
Right,
But the bylaws, well, the planning bylaw is
Mm-hmm.
in the care and control of the planning board, so they would hold the hearing. If it was going to be something about COVID, it would be before the Board of Health,
Okay.
or something about wetlands, it would be before.
Natural resources.
Yeah.
But this has more homes than one thing. I mean,
Yes,
it
does.
it involves several different places in the
Well,
organization.
And we're doing this on behalf of the select board.
Yep. Yeah.
So my feeling is that it's up to the select board to hold the hearing.
right,
That sounds.
yeah.
And if they invite us to be a part of that and the personnel board, just so those that need to hear it, get to hear it, so be it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clearer.
I think it's very strict, but they have to know that first. I mean,
Yeah, and they will,
tomorrow morning.
as
you're
soon as
going to-
I know who the new chair is. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I get it.
Thank you, I do too.
Okay, now, next thing would be to so we're saying that the select board is responsible. Okay, and it's gonna be up to the select board's calendar when we make our recommendations. Because obviously later on, we've got only one pending meeting date, and I wanted to ask how many more we needed. Okay, so then, one of the things that was supposed to get sent out that somehow missed this huge pile was a summary of findings and recommendations. And what it is a draft just to get us started. It is not meant to be a be-all, end-all. And it can be deleted and edited or changed or added to. They covered it all.
What about if we do open discussion on draft recommendations, where we hear from each of us what we think, and they're gonna be in here.
And I think this whole thing started as a process of doing this started with a request for an up or down vote
Yes.
on whether the personnel board, whether this task force believes the personnel board ought to continue to exist with the strong town manager as well in partnership. And that's where it started.
Mhm.
So that was number one.
And we had that.
Yeah, we had that, yeah. So I would like to get to the point where everybody feels that they could vote, they agree with the summary of findings and recommendations. And if they don't, we change it.
Are you thinking that your summary of findings is?
No,
What the
it's
total
only,
is
no,
of
it's
findings.
only, if you remember my outline, there was an overview, a discussion, and then there was a summary, and then the backdrop of that would be all the homework being presented in a way that's readable to everybody, that they can quickly look at. But this sort of sets it is the executive summary, basically.
Which should say, for example, going down to the middle of the page, it says, we recommend that there be a thorough review of the bylaws by the personnel board on a regular basis, as
Yeah.
well as the policies laid out in the personal study task force.
Where'd that come from?
In there somewhere, I think we need a starting point that says what we think.
Well, that's why I was suggesting this format.
Right.
Where we would literally add bylaw, suggestion, recommendation.
And is that part of this?
Well, it
When
would
we-
be, it would be,
I see.
that at the end, yeah.
So the draft summary of findings and recommendations is based on our homework, which is the bylaw, 217 bylaw, and 1985.
Well, it's also all of our research too. I mean, it's also the comments we've gotten from the surveys. It's all of it. So it's more than just the bylaws in terms of,
Okay.
I mean, the bylaws are the representation of it.
Well, how do you see that working into our summary of findings? I mean, I have, anecdotal pieces, I have things that.
Well,
we've talked
anecdotal
about.
pieces, I don't think we're gonna be able to do.
No, but for example, present turnover. That it's not anecdotal, it's data.
It is data.
It's,
Yeah.
it's hard,
Yeah.
factual data that, when I brought it before, it's not, there's no,
But
that will,
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one of the things that I found myself doing is saying things like annual town meeting voted to replace part of this bylaw already, which they did. I had to change this after town meeting. But, one of the things that's still not in, like, for example, I mean, I like what a lot of Claude, I agreed with what a lot of what Claude said, but one of the things that I kind of got stuck on was they're all Christian holidays. And if we're gonna be an inclusive town, we ought to be looking at other holidays.
But if I could, this is where we put our elbows on the table and it's fussy. If I could circle back to the beginning,
Yeah,
we were told multiple times,
Yep.
we couldn't do
Right.
it. We could only call it to the attention of the
Right.
personnel or the town manager or whoever was responsible for it. So it would only be, vis-a-vis the town, not even who specifically, because it could be town manager, it could be town meeting. The town should consider the use of employee leave and our efforts to improve our DEI. Rather than make a list of what it is, just point out that there is a discrepancy. Mostly we were told we can look, but we can't touch. You know, it was,
Yeah.
we're not, so, when it comes down to how, you support Claude's point of view, but Claude's point of view was making the changes that we were told we were not allowed to make. So
Right.
we're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
We can only say,
Well,
consider.
Yeah, and that's why it's amend or it's change it from policy, bylaw to policy or whatever. That's it.
So,
But we don't put the wording in.
no,
But I think your, your recommendation is well taken. I don't see any problem in seeing that it's something that's been brought up,
mhm,
and that even if we don't make that final determination as to whether it sits in policy or we can recommend where it sits.
Right.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
And-
one of the
and-
comments in the overarching
Mhm.
document is policies make it much more flexible for us to be able to change things. Bylaws require a town meeting.
Right.
Not to mention lawyers.
really?
Not that I have anything against lawyers.
Well, my proposal would be to step through our homework, to find out what we think is in and out, and make sure it's on your draft.
Yeah, because one of the
Rather
things
than
that's
go
not on here,
backwards, rather than go from draft to, okay, look through all these pages and see if we can find it.
okay. And what would be the best way, because this is a heck of a lot of homework that would be most effective in terms of getting us from here to there.
Well, I think I did a bad thing when I recommended to Erin, thank you, Erin, that she put everything in the packet in alpha order. And so that we could step through, Ann's and then Bruce's and then Paul's and then Ruth's. But Aaron's part of the bylaw was the end of the bylaw and Bruce's part was the beginning. So.
But he also did do all
And
the
then
10.
1985,
Well,
yes.
yeah.
So why don't we, instead of doing it alpha, why don't we do bylaw order? And see,
I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
and we're able, and then if we're confident of it, that it's in, it gets on your draft list.
Yeah.
And you might then have to, flesh out with words. Read it back.
Well,
Trying to find another one page thing.
So Bruce has 1 and 2, right?
Yep.
yeah,
I gotta go find them. It's after the tables, right?
Probably.
and he has his name on it.
Whatever.
No.
Yeah, it was right after mine, actually.
Right after 10,
Mine.
okay. There you go.
It was Staples, so I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I was struggling. Okay, so. So Bruce is 1 and 2.
Yep.
Any recommendations?
I mean, one seems relatively fine. The only thing I would say is there appears to be nothing in the minutes of any issues brought before the personnel board, which seems unusual over X number of
This
years.
1 and 2 of what?
Bylaw.
But
Bylaw.
this dude here,
First bylaw and second.
Oh, okay, fine.
So,
I'm on here. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
so there's nothing in the personnel board minutes.
nothing that suggests any issues have been brought before the personnel board. And number 2, it appears that meetings are sort of ad hoc, and to me, it should be like when I was on the finance committee, you should be having scheduled meetings months ahead of time. It's every whatever.
Yeah.
And it should seem that there should be a packet of information put together and delivered a week ahead of time, so that people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, and those that don't read it, well, that's the way it goes. In terms of the personnel board, you know, from what I can tell, it's been a while since they've had 5 people.
Yeah,
And, you know, that falls on the people that chartered us to do this. They need to get the committee beefed up. And they may now be at 4, thanks to someone in this room. But they should have 5 and they should be staggered terms.
And one of the other things is, has anybody noticed that stuff comes off of their
it's
website?
so frustrating.
Yeah, it should stay there. I mean, isn't there something in this
Yeah.
law that says you're supposed to keep it and it should stay there?
Yeah,
Yeah. And, you know, where am I here?
I don't know who's, auspice as that comes under.
Why would anybody remove something that was in the?
What they say on the personnel board webpage
Yeah.
is that these documents, whatever they are, will be kept on the webpage as long as they are active and under consideration by the personnel board. And then when they have another meeting, those are taken down and new stuff is
Should
put
be
on it.
That's
available-
crazy.
Should be
That's-
available to taxpayers.
You know, what if you want to refer to something that's,
Can't find
It's
it.
gone.
it's not?
I mean, the other thing in the personnel board is, you know, there was a February meeting where 2 or 3 people were hired without job descriptions. I don't understand that. I mean, the other thing that I brought up, which is cumbersome, is an org chart. And an org chart is kept up to date. And you're sitting there in the personnel board, oh, here's what we're doing. We're moving one person from here, one to here. And here's the job description to point the new hire. It also gives you a chance to figure what your head count is, which at some point is going to be important.
Right, right.
And I think in past discussion, that's where we
Yeah,
came up with the idea of a checklist.
Yeah.
Was that you can't bring things forward unless you have certain documents before the personnel board
right.
signed off by the town manager.
Town manager.
That's why I
Yeah,
put that on the,
Yeah,
so that there is some accountability with
Yes.
respect to
That was great.
what documents make it, and you just can't, and if the personnel board is efficient, if they don't see it, it doesn't,
Yeah,
it's not on the table for that meeting. I think it's extremely simple, but
Yeah.
it covers all of those people.
well, of course you did, put your name on it, but you did it.
Right.
You know, the minutes over the years appear to be lacking in detail. For 10 years. That should change. Then the org chart thing I just talked about would, to me, would be just really useful in terms of understanding, because if you're on the personnel board, somebody says we need to do this, this, and this, I mean,
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
I think that's if we've come to anything that's monumental in this, in my opinion, it's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that process of being able, everybody can see it whenever they want, and it's kept up to date.
yeah, I mean, essentially, if one ever gets to it, you could figure out comparable towns, what they have for, how many people they have in different departments. You can go to, there's a Mass Municipal, they give you good ideas on what the head count should be in a different area.
yep,
That's right.
That would be a huge plus. It also appears that there've been no grievances, as I've said before, and that doesn't seem to match the concept of fairness. There should be a process to deal with it. I'm not sure how you do it. I mean, I think if you're gonna have someone represent the person, it's probably gonna be somebody outside of the town, but I'm not sure quite how to do that.
It's-
Because, I mean, in my travels and listening to people, you know, people have no interest in, trying to choose my words here, voicing dissatisfaction because they're afraid they'll be retaliated against,
Well,
which is a sad state of affairs.
yeah, it is, but I think that's typical in industry.
Yeah, no,
You know, it's just, you don't want to open yourself up to,
yeah. Some are better than others. I
Yeah.
mean, I know some are better, but typically, you don't like what you got from day-to-day stuff.
well, I think Claude introduced the notion of the ombudsman, but I don't think that function would represent somebody in a
No,
grievance. I think that was a different notion.
Well, and the problem is, can a grievance be an executive session? I don't know the rules. Because if you represent a person, then
But
This intermingles with due process for municipal and state government employees where you have a property interest in your job.
Yep.
And if it goes to an ultimate, say a dismissal hearing, and I don't have this, the legalese, but the employee can choose whether it's
in an executive session.
an executive session or an open meeting. So I am,
I didn't know that. That's a good point. Okay.
it is, they choose. And I'm not sure that would be before the personnel board. That would be
Now, that's a regular town employee, not a union, right? I mean, union rules, I would think, would require that it,
well, a union employee could have a hearing, a termination hearing.
okay.
So we'd like not to
But
have
are
terminated, we'd like
we
to have a.
going down the rabbit hole here. Is this
Yes,
the
Yes.
level that we're supposed to be?
no, we're not supposed to.
If we're noticing these things, what would be the proper language to bring it to our appointing authority? That's what we have
Why
to
don't we
say.
point it out in, under certain sections of the bylaw possibly? Or the person.
I know this might not be a popular point, but
Go for it.
I'm thinking it probably, that the grievance procedure doesn't belong in the personnel bylaws.
Well, that was certainly something that came out of the Collins Center.
Right, it's messy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Where-
you're right, yeah.
If something is getting to a termination hearing, that's serious stuff, and it shouldn't be volunteers sitting there. It's the town manager, it's the personnel director, it's the
Yeah,
attorneys for the employee, and that sort of thing. So I don't see any of that sitting before the personnel board.
so maybe what at this point you're saying, we recommend that bylaw be taken out of there.
That's my take at this point, is that it's too messy.
Yeah.
The union contracts cover it up to a point, and then it goes to, if you don't agree with the town manager, it goes to binding arbitration for a union person. And if it's not, then it's still kind of the same process that
Yep.
the town manager in a strong town manager government makes that decision.
Yeah.
And I think it's sticky where the personnel board could make a decision saying, no, keep this employee.
yeah.
And there's,
Yeah,
That's not.
that's
gonna work.
not,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a volunteer board's decision.
Right.
yeah.
They're not in the day-to-day operation.
Right.
Oh,
And I think that's a management right.
I mean, the best thing would be is to figure out a way so you don't get to that
yeah.
termination hearing. That's it. Yeah,
Well,
sure.
can I bring us back
Sure.
to, from Bruce's recommendation so far, removing grievance from the bylaw is the first we've mentioned solidly in words of one's own. What else that you have mentioned do you want in the report? The whole organization of the planning board, monthly meetings, paper trail, that kind of stuff
Personnel board, but.
that we
Same.
should have in better language, but
Yeah, basically, we're talking about, as most boards and committees have standing meetings scheduled.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I heard him say, and also regular minutes with details on actions to be taken by
Yeah.
all parties.
We can tie that into Paul's checklist of here's what has to be done
mhm.
to bring it to the meeting. And it should be, well, I mean, I guess certain times of the year, I'm trying to remember back with FinCom. I don't think we met in June, July, and August, but I don't remember.
August starts with the orientation of the new
Okay.
board. Yeah.
Good, we're glad.
Yeah. What about information removed from the webpage? Is that going to fit in? I mean, is that us just being grumpy?
No, we
Or
should
is
say
that
they should
something
be.
we can?
I mean, what happens with other committees? Do their information stay on it?
I
They're
don't
supposed,
know.
it's supposed to, but it's,
Okay,
but yeah, I mean, I think it's worth noting, along with the information packets for upcoming meetings.
mhm, mhm.
I'm just curious, I think it's a good question. Who's taking it off? Someone has the authority
Yep.
to remove it. So
Well,
who is?
Now, now we're really going front away.
Well, no, I think,
No,
it's- I think
that's
it's a legit- I
legit.
think it's a legitimate question as to if it's not the norm to do it, why is it happening with the personnel? And who is directing it to be removed?
Yeah.
Because I would imagine there are only a few people that can put their hands on the software to add and delete.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I just throw out something I shouldn't, but there's been a lot of scuttlebutt that the committee's out to get people, and that is a total.
Us?
Well, and from my perspective, that's totally not accurate. We're trying to go through this and come up with ideas to fix things, and, you know, if the shoe fits, put it on.
I-
You know, I mean, nobody's out to do anything, in my opinion.
No,
What I've
I
seen.
think I think we should know who's taking it off
Yeah,
and ask the question, why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it being taken off if it? And maybe we'll find out that it happens to a lot of other,
yeah.
In which case,
Committees.
we have to wonder
Yeah.
again, why?
why?
Because it's an unending amount of space available.
Yeah,
Why would we find it necessary?
good question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's 1 and 2. What about 1985?
ah,
Thank you. Okay, the board needs to be at 5 people. You know,
The big
Yep.
staffing.
yeah. They should have completed packets of information supporting all the items on the agenda, job descriptions, everything. I like the org chart thing, but of course that's private idea. In that if you get in the packet an org chart, that
Yeah,
helps you understand what's going on with me. It appears that, you know, there's no monthly reports on people turnover, open positions, that sort of thing.
but it's in the documentation that there should be those.
Right, that's what
Yes.
it should be, yes.
Yeah, and what we don't have is anywhere rationale where, why they're not there. Did something happen in the meantime? Is it in a document that we should know, or did it just stop happening? You know, if somebody
Yeah.
can tell us why, then I'm sure we can understand as much as the next guy, but
But when you have a situation where it appears you got a lot of positions to fill, you would think would be something the personnel board, select board should be dealing with is how do we recruit these people and how do we keep them?
well, then, see, you just introduced that training, retention, recruitment. Is it specifically in the bylaw? I mean, it's specifically a need around here. Is it something that we can comment on? Are we allowed to say, we need recruitment, we need retention in this process?
yes, yeah,
Under the personnel department, it appears to me right here, received from the personnel director, a monthly report of all appointees to positions under the wage and established policies and starting rates for employees. But it should have, you know, you should get a report of open positions people have left. et cetera.
Monthly.
yeah,
Every month.
That's a great point.
And the expectation in the past was that it did happen.
Because one question that arose that I think, I don't know if we discussed it here, but it was asked of me is, how many openings do we have?
Well, I asked at one point, how many employees do we have? I didn't get. an
Right,
answer.
but
We figured it
but
out.
how many vacancies?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what are those vacancies?
What levels are
and
they?
what's coming up?
Yeah.
Right.
People usually announce that, but okay.
Right. In a perfect world, it would seem like your org chart you could figure it out, but
Yeah.
you're right, in the 85 document, it says that there's supposed to be a monthly report on that.
Right.
Do we recommend that's,
Yes. Now, I think one thing we're gonna find here is, I'm guessing, this is just a guess, which I shouldn't do, is that I am guessing that we may not have the best systems in the world to figure this out, but that should be pretty easy to do.
You mean software systems? Yeah.
Or manual, anything to track it. Shouldn't be hard to do. Because I mean, one of the most important things is your people. Without people, we're out of business as a town.
Right.
Okay.
Anything else in the way of recommendations?
And I think those are the highlights. I can come up with all sorts of
Okay.
information, but
Okay.
And what are we gonna do with your tables, which are excellent? Are we going to?
Well, I'm wondering if whether, one of the recommendations is an org chart that readily, and then put that in the, and have it say, look at appendix.
this, I forget where I dug this up. It wasn't, maybe come out one of the town reports, I think.
Or
Budget report.
Budget report, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, well, that's where it came. And,
but I think, but Ruth made the point that there's, the enterprise funds aren't in it.
well, at least I messed
So
up. I messed up. We'll get them. Seriously.
no,
No, they
you
should be. Everything should be in there.
They're probably in the enterprise budget book. They might not be in color.
But I think, so we would be recommending that an org chart software program that can be on the town website and everybody else can click on and it's kept up to date.
We just can't change it. But-
Right.
Right.
But it
Right.
should
You
be.
can see it,
Yeah, yeah,
read only.
yeah, we help,
Yeah.
that would help everybody, I think.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I'm just thinking that, having that as a C sample in the appendix.
Yeah, it says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like a picture.
Okay, so if that's for Bruce 1 and 2, I did 3, 4, and PPPs. Okay, and 3 says there'll be PPPs.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah, that was, you did a great job.
And as I reviewed the PPPs, which is Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, the rules already say that there should be a copy available by department, and unfortunately, there's not. Because we did this wonderful thing some time ago of digitizing. And it just got strange. But we recommend, I believe, that we need the PPPs, and here's where I get stuck between the rock and the hard place. Did you
Yeah.
notice that?
Yes,
We want,
you do very well. there.
we
Yeah.
want the PPPs, but then there's the notion of PPP should be converted to employee handbook. So I don't know where that fits, but as far as the current existence of the PPPs, first, you gotta work hard to find them. Second, there are missing bits and not updated bits. So my recommendation for the PPPs is just one step. We either have to find all of them that are missing and update them, or we have to find them and refresh them so that they're, like, for one, there's a gap, number 39. I found number 39 2 places, one for 1991 and one for 1996. Different titles, different content, same number. I mean, it was just goofy.
Mhm.
But it's the kind of thing that can happen. So what I'm saying is somebody, not this committee, somebody needs to tidy it up and refresh it. And then if it becomes a recommendation of this committee, in its updated state, it should segue or transition into a handbook so that everybody has access to it. And that means, just like the bylaw.
Yep.
Somebody needs to be responsible for that update, for making the changes that are required. From
And right
policies.
now, it's the personnel board.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the question is the personnel board responsible for day-to-day operation?
The answer is
No.
no, not a chance.
But they're to oversee it and,
Yes.
Yeah, it appears nobody's asking, where is it?
huh?
Nobody, well,
Yeah.
in defense of, you probably don't know what to ask.
Yeah.
Because nobody's told you.
Right. And, on the one hand, you feel like that's harsh on employees who don't know their responsibilities. I mean, yes, they have a job description, that's all. But, they don't know the policies that are in the PPPs. And then you think, well, okay, MPs are employees too. They need to know
Yeah.
what they're responsible for doing. And if you can't find the PPPs and nobody keeps you up to date on them, that's, a discrepancy.
It's pretty basic.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe update, refresh, update, and transition.
Well, and
Go
also
ahead.
make, update and make available. I mean, the fact that nobody knows where they were.
Right.
And they were all in scattered places.
Well, I think there's a lot of work to be done here. Somebody needs to figure out how and the resources to get it done. It looks like things
Yeah.
And
have
it's
been,
not
Not
the
us.
task force.
oh, no,
Right?
no.
Right,
We're
correct,
not doing it.
correct.
So Paul,
yeah.
you're next.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Before, Paul is 5, 6?
Yes.
5, 6, 7. Right.
5, 6.
5, 6, okay. Okay. We're gonna skip past Clarence.
No, Claude comes next after Paul.
Yeah, but when it was in here alphabetically, see, I screwed everything up. and
I
now
did too.
it's
Mine's
starting.
all in file.
Okay. Well, 5, 6, over to Paul.
Much my notes
Yeah,
cover
They were
the
pretty
notes
good.
for
Yeah, okay.
the notes for the meeting.
Yeah.
And I think we went over this last time, but the definition of authority, I didn't see any issue with job descriptions. Assuming the checklist gets adopted, then that should take care of itself.
Yep.
So I didn't see any problem with 5.2. There might be some problems with the way it is now, but if the other stuff is taken, I don't see any issues with it. 5.3. All I said was that there's a reasonably clear path of what is required under the present 5.3. Paragraphs in the bylaw indicate the personnel board shall review. Well, now we're back to what documentation is provided to the personnel board by HR to review. As far as allocations of positions to classifications. One time was brought up to me that the personnel board received the changes to the classification schedule after the warrant was.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that's, that,
Doesn't make a lot of
we've got a
sense.
problem with,
So the recommendation
the
is,
recommendation is you follow what
Yeah.
it is.
Well, it is, yeah.
Yes,
And you have a meeting before it goes to the warrant.
and hopefully. this
with-
check-
in a timely way.
In a timely, hopefully this check, you can't get approved unless you put the
Right.
paperwork. 5.4, the periodic review of the classification plan. What can you say? It was done 14 years ago.
So what are we saying? Are we going to recommend that it be more timely? Are we going to recommend 8 dates? Or are we gonna say every 3 years, every 6 years?
There's a cost to it.
Yeah,
There's a big cost to it. I don't know what to recommend.
Here's the
But-
thing,
But I think it needs to be done. It's got to be updated.
somebody needs to.
There-
do
There's
that.
some, they're gonna be starting it now,
Yeah.
this year.
Do they do an outside consultant? Is that how they do it?
They did the last time, because
How do
I can't believe it. I was here the last time they did it,
It's-
and I've been retired for 12 years, so.
But how do other towns do this? Do they all hire consultants to do it? Do you do it internally?
Last time was a consultant.
I think the need for consultant increases as the period between increases. So if it's 14 years, that's a whole lot.
He needs to know.
Yeah.
But if it's a month, I mean, 14 years ago, we didn't have a good half dozen of the employees or more that we have today, right? They,
Fascinating.
it just
Yeah.
didn't happen.
So my recommendations are a question mark next to it. I don't have a recommendation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's management's prerogative, probably.
Yeah.
To do it.
I mean, who are three comparable towns to us? Lexington, maybe?
Concord has always used, my understanding is from my old union days, I think there's maybe 8 towns that HR uses
Okay.
as comparisons. I think Needham's one of them, and there's a bunch.
Lexington, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe Lexington, but not generally.
Okay.
Sudbury. Not
But I
bad.
think if, once we get to further down my, it almost should take care of itself if everybody does what
Right.
is suggested.
Yes.
Well, with the availability of data these days, you would think.
Well, for example, let's just, if we can, I recommended minor tweaks to the process, but major additions needed to ensure the personnel board is given data and timely documents well in advance. And this was where I went to the checklist, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we get on to the 6.2 amendments in to the compensation plan. Here's what I put in my notes. The glaring problem with this section isn't the body of the section, it's the fact that it isn't done. 6.3 states there shall be a responsibility of the personnel board to review rates of pay at least every 3 years. Whenever the personnel board reviews the compensation plan, it shall take into account and give such weight to the following. And then there's some old criteria that needs to be.
So I think what I'm in my head about this is what's on paper isn't being done.
Right.
And there's no reckoning for what changes there have been made. Times change.
Question, why hasn't it been done?
You know, why aren't you telling us what the change is? I'm not gonna be opposed to a change in doing things, but I want it accounted for. You know, there might be
Yeah.
something new
Yeah.
that we can do, for instance,
Sure.
going forward. If we make use of the checklist and, you know, a few of your other recs, the time doesn't become as critical,
Right.
but in the meantime, it hasn't been done.
Right.
Either do it or tell me what you're doing instead.
All right. And you can't be running around changing your pay rates in a panic because you're losing people. 'Cause
Yeah.
You know, compensation is.
Or you give them a one-time
Right.
bonus. That doesn't work either.
No, no,
You don't leave anyone.
No.
No.
To summarize, what I found was, I think if we go with the checklist, go with the org chart.
Yep.
And paperwork is documentation, and I included in the things to look at in the criteria for either the personnel board or whoever's going to do it, is that we look at the union contracts of similar towns. Most towns are unionized.
yeah.
So
No doubt
we
about that.
can't cherry pick the one. I think it's a real mistake to cherry pick, and I'm not saying we do, but let's not cherry pick the towns that don't have unions to look at the salaries.
Just because of, yeah.
Because we're competing with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're competing with,
Yeah, yeah.
if we don't look at Maynard, maybe we should be looking at Maynard because they're a closed town there and we lose, people to Maynard.
Mhm. And we, same notion, we cannot simply look at those towns that have electric.
Right.
That doesn't work either.
Right,
Or, our own television station, or, there are lots of teeny tiny things, like plant not being teeny tiny, but there are some things that make us unique, and they can't be the basis of comparison only.
I mean, probably we should look at all about it, cap to be a good place to start. And not be so,
We get a energized personnel board. I'm hopeful that, some things will get done. The light department piece, and I did put that in my notes. It's already done, the meme report, which is, as far as I know, has never been presented to the personnel board. It's the Bible. It lists every salary, every line,
wow,
it's all done. I have a copy of it. I brought it up to Kerry when I met with her when this whole thing started.
yeah, I'd be curious to flip through that. sometime.
So there's no
it's-
angst, it just is.
Tells you, nothing's clearer. It gives you that every single muni in the state, their rates of pay for every grade and their percentages for healthcare.
You would think that would be something somebody would pay attention to. Not sticking your top desk drawer and lock it,
No,
throw away the key.
I'll say it and I'll probably, hear about it afterwards, but we would not have been in the position that we were in this past year where a one-time pay raise brought to the personnel board under the section for rewards. I call it the ice cream statute.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah, that's what we used to get.
That's what it is.
That was the gem awards for ice
Any,
cream.
any sauce on
Yeah, I don't know if we did or
it?
not. We wouldn't be in that position halfway through. And I know the argument was made, well, that's why the personnel board and the town needs to be more nimble. I'll just come out and say it. What we need to do is to be on top of it beforehand,
Right,
yes.
not all of a sudden,
not looking.
we
at
just
it.
lost three
Yeah.
first-class
Yeah.
linemen this year. Oops. And they come back and say, I left because I got more money.
And is there anything similar out there for towns as the light plant thing? Does anybody do something like that?
Well, MMA probably has a way of sorting that kind of thing data-wise.
I don't know, but it'd be a great thing for a really active personnel board.
We should
Yep.
figure out who was there when I was on, because I used to go to their meetings, I used to always learn something.
Good stuff.
That's,
Because if you could get,
that's, it is,
Longevity, what are we doing?
that's the other one is the longevity.
Is it gonna be in or out? I mean, granted, it's a ridiculous number. Does
What is that?
Longevity.
ridiculous and it's low.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Adjusted for inflation in the ice cream. It's about this.
Does it have to be vanilla? Can it be?
Does
chocolate?
it, yeah, Neapolitan might insist, but should it be in the bylaw?
What? Which one?
Longevity pay,
No,
it's so ridiculous.
I mean, and the rates that they've got are ridiculous. I mean, that's under one of mine actually too. Longevity pay.
Right.
And what did I say? I said it needs to be changed or dropped.
There you go. You agree with Paul? Yay.
I think longevity should probably stay and it probably needs to go up based on one of my discussions I never finished. I mean, the key is what do other towns do? I mean, I believe Acton has a better one than this, but I can't point to it on the longevity pay,
No.
I believe.
Well, and whether it's pay or not, I mean, the pay was something that you rewarded people with.
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
These days, one of the things I remember is somebody under comments in the survey talked about, they used to have access to the BD Center.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if it was up to me, that'd be something that'd be more
Yeah. good
of
point.
interest to me
Yeah,
than a $200 check.
Well, maybe they should come up with options
Yeah,
for longevity, I can't think of a good word.
different perks for different levels of longevity, yeah.
Right, or,
Well, the unions have it in their contract,
oh, what are
so,
they have dollars or?
oh, yeah,
Oh, we have dollars?
oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I guess we go back. to the old-
Okay, well, either way.
Are we close on this, I wonder? In terms of how we match up to the union contracts?
Yeah.
move the debt.
Come on.
Move the
Do
decimal point.
you even know how to ask?
I don't have any recommendations. I don't know that, whatever you think is.
Well, it needs to be revisited.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be competitive.
You mentioned in yours the employee advocate.
I,
I don't know how we get that.
I threw that out there, because it was part of Claude's on the.
Ombudsman, yeah.
I've been awful times saying that word. I call them buds.
Don't worry.
Right, so, it came up. It's not even a good idea. I don't know.
So we'll leave it out. We'll leave it out.
Yeah, I just, it's,
X.
I think for all the same reasons it was argued why the personnel board shouldn't be doing some things under a legal basis.
I agree with you.
Yep.
I really do. There's no way we can do it and protect the institution.
Right. And as we've been reminding ourselves, if it's working properly, we don't need it.
We don't.
I guess we don't need a reason to have people appeal things either.
Have what?
I'm just thinking out loud. I guess that means we don't need a process for people to appeal things either.
Appeal decisions in which
Well-
they don't grieve necessarily,
Right,
but
right.
so right now it's within a department or a division if you
Yeah.
do.
I'm just sitting here thinking,
I think Ann just said, it. If it was working properly, we don't need it.
So then there was Claude's work.
Oh, no, Claude's work, full 16 pages, was the whole bylaw. He was assigned 7 and 8.
Okay,
And.
Yep.
Let's see if we can find 7 and 8.
Well,
Is it
7
numbered?
I guess I'm a little slow at stuff, but
Okay, salary schedules is 7. And. And I see,
but it's also under 10 and 11
That's right.
and 12.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
but the salary schedules for temporary and limited status is number 7. And the conflict is, the language says the town manager shall be responsible. And then it goes on to say, personnel boards approved salary schedules. So if the town manager is establishing and maintaining salary schedules,
Why does
how is that
personnel?
different from
Yeah.
the personnel boards approved? So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know, Claude, I think we should just take it out.
yeah.
Take section 7 out,
just go.
just go.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the personnel, it's.
And then the in-training status.
In training talks about the first 6 months and how the pay is
I believe that's in a policy as well.
Yeah.
So
So I don't think it needs to be here.
I don't know. Can take it out. It's also in union contracts. So,
And that puts us at,
And then, yeah, and mine are on 2 pages, like this.
okay, so I'm gonna leave Claude's up. Okay,
So take a look at it, and if there's anything you disagree with, let me know. But basically, I went through and just had a column that says amend or clarify with a note about what about it needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, for example, the longevity pay is policy 10.6. And I said amend it, may want to revisit the amounts you're awarded. And so, you know, and I don't think there was 1 or 2 that I said something about make into a policy.
what do we do with 9?
we didn't,
Ooh.
we didn't do that.
9, we didn't do 9.
Oh, excuse me, 9.1. He had full-time work week for each employee shall be designated by the town manager as 37.5 or 40 hours in accordance with the duties and responsibilities of the position held. That was revised in 97.
I think the whole thing should come out.
Yeah.
The whole 9.1, 2, and 3. It's all governed by law, the Fair
Yeah.
Labor Standards Act. I don't see any,
No, no need to.
No.
forward.
no. You're gonna update that neat little form you had going there?
This one here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, because I've lost control.
Well, I haven't put the 2 together yet,
So
but I was gonna go through it.
Paul, not Paul. The other Paul, Claude, yes, goes on to strike section 11,
Yeah, and
12, and 13, et cetera, and rewrites them all, which
right,
we're
Wasn't
not
there,
allowed to do.
wasn't there some concern in the beginning? That we weren't supposed to be rewriting things.
no, they're not, and that he and I kept saying, Paul, you don't need to keep this in here. I agree with where you're going, but
Right.
it's not,
We'll get
but
shot
you
down.
know, he was on the board, so he
Not my problem.
had more,
No,
or
not my
stick in the
dog.
game,
Not my dog.
yeah.
No.
The
So,
longevity's out.
oh,
Yes.
and we know,
So I've put it much more briefly than he has.
and then it comes out of the table and into this.
Yep,
For your draft.
Yep.
Right? So, let me just say,
We have nobody watching us.
Right. That's good. It's time to discuss.
What a disappointment.
you can't see ourselves.
okay, so, this is what I picked up.
It is 12:13. If anybody has to be in, or 5:13.
Okay, I'll hurry. So we have, the very first thing is for keeping the planning board, right?
Yep,
Then we have,
Planning board, personnel board.
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay, that's all right. Just checking.
see, it's not just me.
Just trying to let you know I'm
Can't
not
say
sleeping.
ombudsman. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
There you go. Okay, so we're talking about personnel board minutes, meetings should be regularly scheduled, full packets approved before, provided before the meeting. The personnel board needs to be fully staffed by the board of selectmen.
Check was signed off before the meeting,
Yes, that,
org chart up
the
there.
org
to show where
chart
it's going.
is crucial for accountability. We need to have minutes.
And I think you should say employee org charts rather than
Right.
org charts on the point of personnel board.
Hi, how are you? Hi, I'm good, thank you, how are you?
Very well.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm the last one in on the first floor, so you're not expecting anybody else
No,
at your meeting. So it's
And we
okay.
should,
We're gonna be wrapping up in another 10 minutes.
Take your time.
so if we just close the door, it's
It'll
locked.
be locked.
Okay,
So we take it back.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
thanks.
Nice to see you.
Okay, so employee org chart. Okay. Under 1985, training, recruitment, retention, roles for the personnel board. We need,
And personnel director.
yeah,
And I think somewhere in there needs to be that we've lost over 50% of our employees the last 5 years.
Well, that can be in the introduction part.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be up
I
front.
think
Yeah.
it's up front. I think I've already
Where-
got it in there.
okay.
I don't have that with me, but
Okay, so then, we need documentation for the personnel board. It needs to be timely. We need to review the compensation plan last done 14 years ago, which we know is a management prerogative. And we find that it would be unnecessary if all of the above has been kept up to date.
Just, I don't know how have they determined compensation ranges if they haven't done a study to figure out what to pay people?
No, there you go.
percentages each year.
It's just a
Just add
percent. Once a
Add it
base-
on to the next year.
once a base is hit, or there have been times where someone has threatened to leave and gotten pay raises.
And how long they stay?
We have
Yeah.
some processes that are interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need more, okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Longevity pay should be gone, the employee advocate gone, section 7, section 9
Well,
gone.
Do you believe that longevity should go? Should I just mark that as,
If it's in the,
Delete?
if it's in the union contract, seems to me the non-union people need to get.
I was gonna say, because Claude suggests keeping longevity with
$125.
for the first 5 years would be $500. It'd be double what's
Well, let's find out.
in the bylaws.
Let's find out what the union contract says.
Well, they differ. It depends which firm.
Well,
What I put
Fire
in here is, it just needs to be updated. So I did not say, get rid of it.
well, it should be competitive.
I
Okay,
like competitive.
Okay, I'll use
Updated
the
on a
word
competitive
competitive.
basis with other towns.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we'll put words to that. Are we going to step through the checklist, Paul?
I just vote we adopt it. think it's
I
great.
thought it was great.
Me too.
I think it's a sample.
Yeah,
Somebody wants to
Good,
do a
change it,
little.
checklist, that's all we need.
I don't think we need to discuss it in great detail, other than unless there was something glaring that somebody thought of as he looked at it. I'm seeing it as something that we refer to as part of the appendix.
Mhm.
And say, this is a sample of a possible
Uh-huh.
checklist.
Which we adopted.
Which we recommend that they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. Why don't, if we say we recommend,
Well, that's how it gets to be part, it's a dual thing. It's referred to as a recommendation, and then it becomes.
that
Referred.
was a great line out of the movie A Few Good Men, where Jack Nicholson's on
Yeah.
the stand and the woman who was the the JAG. She
Mhm.
was the second, Tom Cruise was the first one. And she objects to something and then she stands up and goes, I strongly object.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference.
And then Tom Cruise said to her after, he goes, you strongly object. Maybe we should strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Well, we could do that. I mean, we could have, these are the priority recommendations, and then these are sub priorities.
These are things we're interested in.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
That's good.
we've stepped through the two major documents that we were asked to look at. We have not yet mentioned in our recommendation the survey. And I don't think we should in the sense of, itemizing,
No,
50 pages.
No.
We don't. want
We
to do that.
No.
we could say something to the effect that, we sent out a survey
or as per
as per.
data from the survey,
I
Right,
think we should attach it.
huh?
Oh,
I think it should
definitely.
be attached, doesn't it?
Well, see, to me, when I wrote appendix, I thought, I don't know if we need one because we've got the website.
this would be the first.
It's
If it
all on the
disappears-
website.
If it disappears,
Well, that's, we got,
I think we ought to put it in as an appendix number 1, survey. That's what I think. But
this thing's gonna be like this.
that's all right.
That's
Good
okay.
reading. Good
Okay.
reading.
Yeah, but I think the survey
Alright.
should, it's
Yeah.
gonna be all digital.
Okay,
It's gonna land as a, but I think the survey should be part of our,
Mhm.
the redacted or unredacted. I'm just trying to.
Whichever format it's in on the day.
I'm just trying to cause trouble, that's all.
that'll do, that'll do
I
it.
believe.
So I'm now left with. Do we have new business?
The what?
Do we have any new business?
We haven't finished the personal bylaws, though. We can do that in another meeting?
Yeah, it's 5:20, it's my bedtime
Fine.
approaching, so.
Yeah, no, but we haven't,
Yeah, I've gotta leave at 5:30.
okay, but
Okay.
we haven't,
Okay, so you want to end at 10 and we. still have-
Well, it's, I did 10 through 20.
Yeah.
And I'm asking
oh,
you,
okay, so we can just review what we have.
yeah, you just
All
have
right.
to review what
Okay,
we've
Thank
got here,
thank you.
and you'll see, and I'll add anything or change anything that you don't agree with, but right now, it was, things like C-town war, oh gosh, I gotta change that.
That's okay.
And there was something about Juneteenth, because it wasn't on the bylaw, but now it's been, town meeting has changed that.
I wanted to throw out I think we should recommend that, and I guess we're not supposed, but I think it should be 15 sick days.
I think,
If it's not in there,
We can recommend.
just
I
about
think what
everybody
we-
else in the world is 15 sick days.
well, the other thing I had put down is also accrual, maximum. But then there is no maximum,
Somebody.
and there should be. And so there are things like that that I kind of,
Get sick to use them up.
huh?
I mean, you have to get sick to use them up.
No, you can.
No, I said,
Cash them out.
I think it should have an upper amount that you use it or lose it.
I think you should just accrue it.
But again, is that?
Specifically holidays,
So that's leave, that's not sick.
right?
So what our recommendation is what? It's a sum total of leave and the employee chooses whether it's sick leave, vacation leave, holiday leave,
I
or.
think it's a slippery slope.
It is.
Real careful with that.
Yeah,
Like
So-
I think if someone stays here 20 years, they deserve the 20 years of sick time.
I agree.
Because what if, I'll give you a non-named example where someone's wife got cancer and needed a lot of days off.
Yeah.
That had 34 years in the town. And I wouldn't want to cap that person
So
Yeah,
so he could
I
take
think
care
you're
of it, and she died. But
Yeah.
I just think if you do 34 years, you deserve the 34 years of sick.
Yep.
So you would disagree with max accruals,
I do.
okay? What about use it or lose it? Are there any portions of our leave,
or vacation.
vacation?
Vacation, that's already in the, there's a PPP and and it's also listed in here.
Which says use it or lose it.
Well,
Vacation.
Well,
you can carry two,
You can carry so much.
You can carry 2 weeks over your maximum accrual. Any more than that has to have approval by the town manager. It's very clear.
But I think there's something also that is behind it, which is people who don't take vacations and just work. That's not healthy. And it's not healthy for the organization that they're working for either.
But they lose it.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they lose it. You can't go over. There is a maximum accrual on
Yeah.
vacation. I just.
that's why I use that
Yeah.
expression, use it or lose it.
So do you want to even mention this in your recommendation?
Well, the other question is.
Well, I do, under the leave for maximum, I say set a maximum.
And what are you counting as leave?
It's whatever the bylaw would say. I mean, these are my recommendations right here, okay? And the same with the payoff.
So you're keeping separate all the different forms. of
Yes.
leave.
Yeah.
Because there was some chit chat early on.
There was,
About making a club.
Yeah.
How company,
How about-
well, the town warrant
Yeah.
replaces all the bylaw for bereavement leave, for example. And increases days and expansion of relationships of the discipline. So I wrote that in.
Okay,
That's been handled. So
How about a sick bank?
a what?
A sick bank as opposed to accrual where people can,
Um,
is that reasonable at a town level?
That would be under sick leave.
I have that in my notes, and that's in the survey.
Yeah. I'd like to see it, but
Well,
I think we recommend the personnel board look at it.
yeah,
maybe I ought to give them a roadmap to follow. I mean, the other thing is if we accrue all sick time, what do you do with the person that's here? Because right now you lose your sick time if you don't use it.
yes,
When you retire, yes, or leave.
yes.
They phased it out, and there was a buyback
So,
over the years,
okay,
but
so you should know what the accrual is for a person spending 20
yeah,
years.
well, you know your accrual. It's
Okay, all right, all right,
on
should.
paper.
all right, that answers what I was thinking. Okay,
but that's a great thing for the new personnel board or a new and improved personnel board, or
Yep.
a recommendation is to look at what our other towns doing with.
Right.
Yep. With sick,
With sick leave.
with sick leave, yeah.
Because they're it's all over the block. Really.
Yeah.
so how competitive we want to be? Because I mean, taking away sick pay after 20 years is, I think they should be entitled to it. Not taking it away.
You just don't get paid for it, you'll just lose, you'll lose.
You lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a volatile subject.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to leave in about 3 minutes. I want to get us to where we talk about any new business. Is there any new business? Other than working on this thing?
I don't believe so. We had a lot of correspondence that we've all mentioned up above. That would have been new. The
Yeah.
fact that it had come in.
And the only other thing is to pick another date for meeting beyond the May 23rd one. June 6th, 12th, 13th, or June 6th, 13th, 20th.
That we took the grandchildren are coming.
So what's the next one?
So it would not be June 6th then. Okay, so how about the 20th or the 13th?
Maybe 13,
Okay,
if that fits everybody else.
Okay.
well, let's put out
And
the,
could you see if this grower is available?
Yes, I will.
What's the next?
yeah,
one?
that was gonna be the other
Our
question.
next meeting is the 23rd.
No,
I'm sorry, Anna, I interrupted. The next question you said?
Was whether or not we'd have it just in person.
Or,
And then we wouldn't have to worry about,
no, we have to have hybrid.
oh, really? We do?
Why?
That's not true of all the other committees.
Oh, I think it is.
Okay,
Well,
the
maybe
four,
we
the
can
four of
check
us,
into that
well, the
too.
four of us are gonna come anyway, so why do
Well, I think the,
we? Hey, chief over there, do we have to, is it required to have hybrid meetings?
That's a great question, whether it's required. I
We
thought
need
that it
answers. We
was.
don't want-
I would
I
have
know.
guessed yes,
I thought
but
it was. Is there anybody here who could tell us?
there's
Anybody who's
nobody
online with
else.
us?
Nobody else. For example, I know the select board is still running hybrid.
I thought they were.
I know the planning board is still running hybrid, so I don't,
Put it,
I
you know,
don't know of any right off the top of my head, but I think it's a great question, and I'm gonna find out with the town clerk tomorrow.
I don't think it, who knows? Doesn't matter what I think, let's
Do
find out what she
you-
says.
Do you object to?
no, I just tried to
Keep it simple.
keep it simple,
Keep it
exactly.
Okay. So there's no public, so there's no public comment.
Oh, okay,
Should we go out?
that's
No.
good. With Bruce's little comments coming.
Wait until Aaron turns things on.
I declare that our meeting is over.
Aye.
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 Great.
And what's it?